Is Animal Collective finally good again? Loaded question, I know. I mean, I've always liked Animal Collective, but that's because I'm based and freak out pilled. But let's face it, according to general consensus, Animal Collective has kind of fallen off over the last decade. I mean, you could argue that they've been good this whole time. Also, spoiler alert, that's exactly what I'm gonna do later in this video. Hell, I think I made it pretty clear that I think they were good the whole time. But a lot of people lost interest in Animal Collective after the 2000s. Not just the critics, who nobody cares about, but even my friends, who I sort of care about. See, I love Animal Collective. They're my favorite band. I don't know how to explain it, but something about their music is just magic to me. It brings deep thoughts to my already overactive brain. Now, I'll never forget the first time that I started listening to them. My friend Sam sent me their album Song Tongs and told me that I had to check them out. So, I did. Once that first song started to play, I was entranced. Everything about their sound was so raw and visceral and playful and free-spirited. And as soon as that first verse melody kicked in, I was hooked. Now I really want to gush about Song Tongs because of how much I f***ing love that album, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna stick to the topic of the video. After just one more clip. I didn't know it at the time, but Song Tongs happens to be the first album in Animal Collective's golden run. You know, it's like their version of The Simpsons' golden years, an 8-ish album run where they could do no wrong. And it's because of that golden run that Animal Collective is such a respected name in music today. Now at the time, I didn't know any of that yet, I just thought Song Tongs was an amazing album. I listened to it repeatedly, and I loved everything about its organic, psychedelic sound. But what makes the Animal Collective golden run so special is that no two albums sound the same. Like, at all. Where Song Tongs was all stripped down and acoustic, Strawberry Jam sounds like this. And yeah, hearing that for the first time was pretty jarring. In fact, I honestly kind of hated it for being so different. But once you get used to it, you start to realize that with every style and sound that Animal Collective goes for, there's always one quality that remains in all of their music. Their songs feel alive. I know that's not a real answer, but I just don't know how else to say it other than their music makes me feel the human things. And I feel like that comes from the erratic melodies and the shifting rhythms and the way everything just feels loosely placed, like they did it all by feel instead of a metronome. I like when Animal Collective's pretty like that, and I like when they sound like this. The golden run lasted from about 2003 to 2009. And with each album, they were becoming more and more of a household name. Sure, Song Tongs was a cult classic, but by the end of that run, they were starting to see near mainstream success with albums like Merryweather Post Pavilion, especially with massively popular singles like My Girls. One of the ways I sees it is that Merryweather was so popular because, one, that watery electronic sound is so good, but also because it kind of lined up with MGMT getting popular, which, you know, kind of a similar sound. I'm feeling rough, I'm feeling wrong in the time of night. The point is, after the massive success of Merryweather, everybody wanted to know how Animal Collective was gonna outdo themselves yet again. But what nobody knew was, they wouldn't. Oh wait, they actually put out a kick-ass EP right after that album and everybody loved it. But what nobody knew was, after that last EP, they wouldn't. In 2012 came Centipede Hurts, the album that officially ended Animal Collective's golden run. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I also didn't love this album when it first came out. There are so many simultaneous samples going on in some of these songs that it almost feels like you're standing in the middle of an arcade, with all the different game sounds randomly playing at any given moment. It's loud, it's abrasive, it's got too many textures. The point is that after so many albums, the band finally put out what the consensus deemed to be a misstep. Sure, I knew the truth, which was that the album actually kicks ass, but for most people, it was too much of a downgrade from their 2000s output.
To me, Centipede Hurts is sort of the biggest example of when I was talking earlier about, I feel like some records sort of take some time to kind of, for people to sort of wrap their heads around, and I feel like that one gets way more play than it certainly at the time it did. People seemed to really hate it when it came out.
And unfortunately for Animal Collective, Centipede Hurts was just the beginning of a trend. In 2016, they came out with Painting With, which is probably one of their least popular albums of all time. Some say it's because the album is too poppy and that achieving that sound requires sacrificing some of the best parts of Animal Collective's music. And others say it's because every song sounds like this. Like seriously, that vocal gimmick is on almost every song, so if you don't like it, then you're probably gonna hate this album. But if you're into the vocal gimmick, they actually do some pretty cool shit with it, like this. So many ways to do it under the lines that border us. Come on, don't take it. Now personally, I actually think the gimmick sounds cool, and I like the front and back ends of Painting With quite a bit. But yeah, overall the album is I don't come back to it a lot. And for the entirety of the 2010s, those were basically the only two proper Animal Collective albums. Sure, they made EPs with great songs, and yes, those songs include Crimson, obviously kind of bonkers, Man of Oil, obviously, but Animal Collective was washed up, and that's all there was to say about it. That's all there was to say about it. In 2022 and 2023, Animal Collective put out 2 great albums, and every single song on those albums was written in 2019. For fans that stayed with the band throughout the 2010s, they knew what was coming. They heard these songs before they were ever on any albums. But now that we do have studio recordings, these are good songs. Both Time Skiffs and Isn't It Now have so many moments that make me feel those same things that I get from every other great Animal Collective album. And again, they're doing it in ways that feels new. Like, tell me one other song that sounds like Car Keys. It sounds like a PS1 game. It sounds like a Crash Bandicoot level. And that beautiful chorus? Their new songs are sprawling and beautiful. They play out in their own time and spread out the sound. Also, I don't know if this makes any sense, but I feel like their sound on these new albums kind of reminds me of like Crystals or something. Not only did the new Animal Collective albums impress critics, who I don't care about, but more importantly, they impressed my friends, who I sort of care about. After all these years, the band has won back the public's perception. And so, once again, Animal Collective had more respect from people than before. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really care that much about whether or not Animal Collective is considered good again, or if they were ever even considered bad. Any narrative about a golden run or whatever is so not what Animal Collective is about. Animal Collective is just 4 guys that get really excited about making music together. They're completely open to experimenting to the point where they really don't care. And that goes for every single album in their discography. Hell, I think I made it pretty clear that I think they were good the whole time, but I just needed a storyline to use as an excuse to talk about the band because I love their music so goddamn much. What makes Animal Collective so special is the way they tap into this sort of childlike creativity. They're truly willing to try anything and explore any idea, and it's all because they're not afraid of feeling embarrassment. They just embrace the cringe. It might seem ridiculous, but embracing the cringe is one of the most valuable things I've learned from Animal Collective. It's helped me feel more creative and authentic in whatever I'm doing, whether it's my music or the dumb jokes I make in this video. The point is, I'm only willing to do any of it because I'm embracing the cringe. And that philosophy is in everything that Animal Collective does. Their music, their movies, their live shows. It's how they're able to keep reinventing themselves and move forward with their sound time and time again. It's how they're able to be so quirky and unrestricted with their melodies, rhythms, and idiosyncrasies. They are masters of creativity. And by not allowing themselves to be restricted by anything other than their imagination, they're able to make music that connects on a primal level, something that comes before any intellectual thought or identity. If someone else doesn't see that, then so be it. That's their perspective. But for me, I genuinely love these guys. They're wizards, and they've helped me find magic in this world. And that's why, even if I'm just speaking for myself, there will never be a band more important than Animal Collective. Many miles inside.